Phenol is also called carbolic acid. This is asked in CET for 1 mark. Why is it called carbolic acid? Because it was isolated for the first time from coal tar. That is why it is called carbolic acid. Let us start from different methods of preparation of phenol. The first method is by hydrolysis of haloarenes. And this method is called Dow's process. In this process, we start from chlorobenzene. We have already studied that aryl halides are unreactive towards nucleophilic substitution reactions. That's why we have to go for drastic conditions. When I say drastic condition, I'll make use of aqueous NaOH, where I take approximately 10% concentrated sodium hydroxide solution. I'll go for very high temperature of the order of 623 Kelvin. Apply very high pressure, 300 atmosphere. And I'll make use of copper salt as the catalyst. The chloro group is now replaced by OH group. We are supposed to get phenol, but the problem is a phenol is formed in the presence of base NaOH. That's why the formed phenol will immediately get converted into sodium salt of phenol, and this is called sodium phenate, or it is also called sodium phenoxide, which is a salt of phenol. Now this is sodium phenoxide. I'll subject it to acidification. I can use a dilute HCl or any other dilute mineral acid. In general, I'm going to mention it as H3O+. So Na plus will be replaced by hydrogen. So what we get is phenol. In fact, this is a method of manufacture of phenol. This is a very important concept in the examination. How do we convert chlorobenzene into phenol? By nucleophilic substitution reaction. You know that aryl halides are unreactive towards nucleophilic substitution reactions. That's why we have to go for drastic conditions. We'll make use of 10% aqueous solution of sodium hydroxide, higher temperature of 623 Kelvin, higher pressure of 300 atmosphere. We make use of copper salt as the catalyst. Initially, we get sodium salt of phenol called sodium phenoxide. Subjected to acidification, we will get phenol. Second method is starting from benzene sulfonic acid. We can start directly from benzene sulfonic acid, but in the examination they'll ask you, how do you convert benzene into phenol? That's why instead of starting from benzene sulfonic acid, we start from benzene. In the first step, benzene has to be subjected to sulfonation. For that, I can make use of oleum. If you make use of oleum, reaction can be carried out at room temperature. Or I can make use of a concentrated sulfuric acid. In such case, I have to go to a temperature of 80 to 120 degrees Celsius. Or in other words, in step number 1, I am carrying out sulfonation of benzene. So, benzene sulfonic acid is formed in this process. Once we get benzene sulfonic acid, next I am going to treat it with 2 moles of NaOH. It is a solid sodium hydroxide we use, and we fuse it with benzene sulfonic acid. In this case, the temperature employed is 570 to 623 Kelvin. Basically what happens is SO2 molecule from SO3H is removed. The reaction is called desulfonation. Removal of carbon dioxide is called decarboxylation. Removal of SO2 is called desulfonation. Once SO2 is removed, you know, SO2 is an acidic gas. This acidic substance will react with the base sodium hydroxide. It has to give you salt and water. Whenever SO2 reacts with NaOH, what are the products formed? Sodium sulfite will be formed, Na2SO3. Along with that, water is also removed, H2O. At that time, what is the product that is formed? The product formed will be a benzene ring, and we get ONA. So this is sodium phenoxide. Now formed sodium phenoxide can be subjected to acidification. Now let us say in this case I will use HCl to acidify it. So sodium chloride will be removed. So what is a product form? Product form should be phenol, benzene ring with OH. So in the examination for 2 marks, they ask this question: how do you convert benzene into phenol? Third method of preparation is by hydrolysis of diazonium salts. And how do we get diazonium salts? We have studied under haloalkane and haloarene chapter, and we have studied about a reaction called diazotization. So we shall quickly recall that particular reaction. We start from aniline. In general, we have to start from aromatic primary amine, and we have to treat it with nitrous acid, and you know that nitrous acid can be prepared in situ by treating HCl with sodium nitride. You have NaNO2 and HCl. This will produce HNO2 in the reaction site, and you know temperature is the most important part in diazotization reaction. We have to maintain the temperature in between 273 Kelvin to 278 Kelvin. So what is obtained? You know, we get aqueous solution of benzene diazonium chloride, which is written this way. It is written in the ionic form. This is benzene diazonium chloride, but you know, you should never try to isolate this compound in solid state. Being highly unstable and unreactive, it will highly unstable and highly reactive, it will explode. That's why we have to start from aqueous solution of benzene diazonium chloride. And this compound, benzene diazonium chloride, can be warmed. I'll just heat it. You know, if the temperature goes above 10 degrees Celsius, this diazonium chloride group is a better living group, and it will be replaced by OH group from water. So what should be the products formed? I told you entire diazonium group is replaced by OH group plus you know, a molecule of nitrogen is formed, and in addition to that HCl will also be formed. So this way it is possible to convert a benzene diazonium chloride into phenol. So in this reaction, the condition is you just need to warm it or increase the temperature above 10 degrees Celsius. We get phenol. But how do we get benzene diazonium chloride? It is obtained starting from aniline by a process called diazotization. Next we are going to study manufacture of phenol starting from cumin. This is a 2-mark question in the examination. So in the examination you can directly start writing the equation from cumin, but here sometimes they will ask you to obtain a phenol starting from benzene. That's why first we will convert benzene into cumin, and then cumin is subjected to subsequent reaction to obtain phenol. So we'll start from benzene. The first step is actually Friedel-Crafts alkylation, and in this reaction we do not use alkyl halide. What we use is alkene. So we use propene CH3CH double bond CH2. This reaction requires a catalyst, and catalyst used in this case is H3PO4 orthophosphoric acid. Next, you know how exactly reaction takes place. You have a benzene here and you have CH3CH double bond CH2. You can consider as if it's an addition reaction across CH double bond CH2. So this benzene, if suppose I write it as C6H5H, you know, carbon will be the negative part, hydrogen will be the positive part. So I'll write positive part, hydrogen with carbon atom involved in the double bond containing more number of hydrogen atoms, right? And the negative C6H5, I'm going to connect it to central carbon. So what do I get? I will get this compound. You have a benzene ring like this, and then you have CH here, and thereafter here you will have CH3, and here we have CH3. The name of this compound is isopropyl benzene, and this isopropyl benzene is also called cumin. Or in other words, in step number 1, we have converted benzene into cumin using Friedel-Crafts alkylation, where we make use of propene in presence of H3PO4. Now, formed cumin will undergo air oxidation. During this process, the 2 hydrogen atoms get added across carbon-oxygen single bond. What is the product that you get is this compound. You have a benzene ring, your carbon here, single bond O, single bond OH, then you will have CH3, here we have CH3. Now, if suppose this group were not to be there would have been hydrogen, and what would have been the compound? It's a HOOH. This is nothing but hydrogen peroxide. HOOH, hydrogen peroxide. Now, in hydrogen peroxide, one hydrogen is replaced by cumin moiety. That's why name of this compound is cumin hydroperoxide. Now, this cumin hydroperoxide, I am going to hydrolyze it in presence of dilute acid. We get 2 important products. What is the first one? You have a benzene ring that gets attached to OH group. So we get a phenol, benzene ring with the phenol. And what is the next one? The next one, here you have CH3, C double bond O, CH3. So it is a CH3, C double bond O, CH3. So the product obtained, major product is phenol, and acetone is a very important byproduct. So what are the advantages of this method? Point number one, the starting substances, namely benzene and propene, are readily available in petroleum industry. The next one, acetone, is a very, very important byproduct. So this reaction is asked in the examination for 2 marks. Let us start from in-text question from the NCERT textbook. There is 11.4, the first one. The question is, I have to start from a suitable Grignard reagent, make it to react with methanol, that is formaldehyde, to obtain this particular primary alcohol. Now, because it's a primary alcohol, it is understood that one of the reactants must be methanol. They have already given. The question is, which is the Grignard reagent we have to select in order to get this as the final product. When you have studied the equation for the reaction between Grignard reagent and a carbonyl compound, you have already studied that whatever formaldehyde group that you are going to start with, this formaldehyde group will be converted into primary alcohol. This formaldehyde group will be converted into primary alcohol, or in other words, the remaining part should come from Grignard reagent. Or in other words, what is the R group in Grignard reagent? It has to be an isopropyl group. So, if I consider a Grignard reagent like CH3, CH3, and then we have MgBr. Imagine this is the starting Grignard reagent. I'll treat it with methanol. So try writing the equation for the reaction in presence of dry ether. You will come to know that the addition compound that is formed will be CH3, CH3, and thereafter you will have CH2OMgBr, and then you are going to subject this to hydrolysis in acidic medium. So we'll give you the specified target molecule. You will have CH3 and then it is CH2 and OH. The second target molecule is this. You have a cyclohexyl group here. This is a methanol part. So again, I have to start from methanol and I have to make use of suitable Grignard reagent. And as I told you, the CH2OH group comes from formaldehyde part. Naturally, this cyclohexyl group should come from Grignard reagent. Or in other words, in Grignard reagent, this R group should be cyclohexyl group. So what should be the starting Grignard reagent? It should be cyclohexyl magnesium halide. In specific, I have considered bromide. So start with this Grignard reagent, treat it with formaldehyde. You are going to get this target molecule. The next important question is, they have given the reactants and you have to predict the product in the reaction. This is a very important question because the reducing agent used is sodium borohydride. And just look at the functional groups present in the substrate molecule. You have a ketonic group here, C double bond O. And if you do not observe clearly, this appears to be a carbonyl group. But remember, this is actually an ester group. So here what we have is a ketonic group, and this particular part is an ester group. You know, sodium borohydride is a reducing agent and it can reduce a carbonyl group into respective alcohol, but it cannot reduce ester into alcohol. I repeat, sodium borohydride can reduce carbonyl group into alcohol, but it cannot reduce ester into alcohol. That's why in this case, whatever carbonyl group is present, that will get reduced to respective secondary alcohol. So what should be the product formed? It should be a cyclohexanol, and here you will have CH2, COO, CH3 group as it is. The important point you are supposed to know is sodium borohydride does not reduce ester group. We will start from physical properties of alcohols and phenols. The first physical property we are going to consider is boiling points. It's observed that boiling points of alcohols and phenols keep on increasing with increase in number of carbon atoms. The meaning is the boiling point of ethanol is greater than that of methanol. The boiling point of butyl alcohol is greater than that of propyl alcohol, and so on. Now, what is the reason for this? You know, as the number of carbon atom increases, what should happen to molar mass of the substance? Molar mass of the substance increases. What is meant by molar mass increases? Molecular size increases. Now, when molecular size increases, surface area increases. And you know, whenever surface area increases, van der Waals forces, magnitude of van der Waals forces increase. So what should happen to the boiling point? The boiling point has to increase. The second point we are going to consider is we will compare the boiling points of alcohols and phenols with hydrocarbons, ethers, and haloalkanes and haloarenes of comparable molar masses. Or in other words, I will select alcohols or phenols and compare their boiling points with other functional groups like haloalkanes, haloarenes, ethers, who have almost the same molar mass. It's observed that alcohols and phenols have higher boiling points. What is the reason? If you consider alcohol, I can represent it like this, ROH. One more molecule of alcohol I'll represent like this. So the two molecules of alcohols are associated through stable intermolecular hydrogen bonding. That's why if you want to separate the two alcohol molecules, you have to provide more amount of energy. That's why boiling point of alcohol is always greater than those of ethers, hydrocarbons, and haloalkanes and haloarenes of comparable molar masses. The same thing holds good in case of phenols also. So when I say phenol, we have C6H5 group. I can show the hydrogen bonding between phenol molecules like this. Again, more energy to separate the phenol molecules because of stable intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So what is the reason you have to write? In case of alcohols and phenols, association of molecules takes place through stable intermolecular hydrogen bonding. That's why more amount of energy must be provided to separate either alcohol molecules or phenol molecules. We will compare the boiling points of isomeric alcohols. Here, the boiling point of N-butyl alcohol is 391. That of secondary butyl alcohol is 372 Kelvin, isobutyl alcohol is 373 Kelvin, and tertiary butyl alcohol is 353 Kelvin. Or in other words, if you compare the boiling points of secondary butyl alcohol and isobutyl alcohol, it is almost comparable. But then you observe that as I move from N-butyl alcohol to tertiary butyl alcohol, there is a considerable decrease in the boiling point. Or in other words, I can say that among isomeric alcohols, the boiling point decreases with increase in extent of branching. So what is the reason for that? As you have already studied under haloalkanes, you know that as the extent of branching increases, the molecule becomes more and more compact and it almost assumes a spherical shape. And in mathematics, you might have already studied that for a given volume, sphere has the least surface area. So, as the extent of branching increases, the molecule becomes more and more compact. It almost assumes a spherical shape, and a sphere has the least surface area for a given volume. That's why magnitude of van der Waals forces of attraction decreases. What about the amount of energy required to separate the molecule? Decreases. Hence, boiling point must decrease. The next physical property we are going to consider is solubility. Remember, lower alcohols and lower phenols are soluble in water. Why are they soluble in water? Because they are able to form relatively stable intermolecular hydrogen bonding with water molecules. I'll just show how exactly alcohol molecules form hydrogen bonding with water. So one molecule of alcohol, I'll represent it like this, and one molecule of water, I can represent it this way. So I can go on having alcohol and water molecules arranged like this. Now you know, between alcohol molecules and water molecules, I can have stable intermolecular hydrogen bonding like this. Hence, this alcohol dissolves in water because of their ability to form hydrogen bonding. On the other hand, as R group becomes bigger and bigger, the hydrophobic non-polar interaction predominates over hydrogen bonding. As a result, water solubility should keep on decreasing as the size of R increases. So this is a solved in-text question in the NCERT textbook. They have given you different alcohols and asked you to arrange them in the order of increasing boiling points. Or in other words, I have to start placing the alcohol with the lowest boiling point first. You have to know two concepts here to arrange them in the order of increasing boiling point. The first point is, with the increase in number of carbon atoms, the boiling point must increase. And the second point is, if you have isomeric alcohols, you know, if branching is there, boiling point will be less. So we'll start with alcohol with the lowest boiling point. Obviously, it has to be methanol because there is only one carbon atom. So methanol has the lowest boiling point. Then after that, I will go to ethanol. There are two carbon atoms. When I go to propanol, they have given only one propanol. So it is again propyl alcohol. That's why we have propane 1-ol. But going to butyl alcohol, we have two butanols. One is butane 2-ol and here butane 1-ol. You know, butane 1-ol is alcohol with a normal chain, unbranched, whereas butane 2-ol has a branching. And you know, whenever branching is there, boiling point decreases. That's why, you know, butane 2-ol must have lower boiling point compared to butane 1-ol. And finally, we have pentane 1-ol. So this is the order of increasing boiling points of various alcohols. In the second case, they have given altogether different functional groups. N-butane is a hydrocarbon, ethoxyethane is ether, pentanol is aldehyde, pentane 1-ol is an alcohol. You know, in this case, N-butane is perfectly nonpolar, should have the weakest London forces as the intermolecular forces of attraction, whereas ethoxyethane and pentanol are polar molecules. In other words, they should be held together by dipole-dipole interaction. Also, we know that ethers have a lower polarity compared to pentanol. That's why dipole-dipole interactions of ethoxyethane must be relatively weaker when compared with that of pentanol. And pentane 1-ol, these molecules are associated through hydrogen bonding, and you know that hydrogen bonding is the strongest dipole-dipole interaction that one can consider. That's why, based on the magnitude of intermolecular forces of attraction, the one having the lowest boiling point is N-butane, non-polar molecule. After that, ethoxyethane, slightly polar. Then we come to, pentanol. Pentanol is polar, slightly strongly polar compared to ethoxyethane, and then pentane 1-ol because of intermolecular hydrogen bonding. We'll start from chemical properties of alcohols and phenols. Under that, the first set of reactions we are going to consider are those reactions involving cleavage of oxygen-hydrogen bond. Under that, the first property we are going to consider is acidity of alcohols and phenols. It's observed that alcohols and phenols react with reactive metals. Reactive metals like sodium, potassium, aluminium, etc. And we shall consider one such reaction. The general equation I'll write, ROH reacts with sodium metal, Na, and this metal is able to replace hydrogen from alcohol, and the position of hydrogen is taken up by sodium. So what we get is RO minus Na plus. And meanwhile, hydrogen is displaced. I can write it as H2 molecule. In other words, if I balance the equation, 2 molecules of ROH, 2 moles of sodium, here 2 moles of the salt of alcohol, and in this case, salt of alcohol is called sodium alkoxide. Here it is a sodium alkyl oxide, alkoxide. So, when an alcohol is treated with active metal like sodium, potassium or aluminium, hydrogen gas will be liberated. Along with that, the salt of alcohol will be formed, and the salt of alcohols are called alkoxide. Let us consider a specific example for this reaction. I start from tertiary butyl alcohol. I'll treat it with aluminium metal, Al. So this hydrogen has to be replaced by aluminium. And you know, aluminium oxidation state or valency is 3. That's why I have to get 3 tertiary butoxide groups. When I say that, I should have CH3, CCH3 here, CH3. On this you will have O minus, and then aluminium will have Al3 plus. When I want to write the formula, I have to cross the charges like this. In addition to that, I should get hydrogen gas. Now, if I write the formula, you know, this becomes, you have a 3CH3 groups. I'll write the condensed formula, CH3 thrice C. And you have an oxygen over there. So this 3 comes over here, and then aluminium. Along with that, we have to get hydrogen. Right? Now, to balance the equation, I'll have 6 moles of tertiary butyl alcohol and 2 moles of aluminium here. As a result, here I should have 2 times of aluminium tertiary butoxide, and we should get 3 moles of hydrogen gas. So this is the reaction between tertiary butyl alcohol and aluminium. What is the product formed? It is called aluminium tertiary butoxide and hydrogen gas. So this reaction clearly indicates the acidic nature of alcohol. Now we shall consider the reaction between active metal and phenol. So phenol reacts with sodium metal. Reaction is very similar to the reaction between alcohol and sodium metal. So we get 2 moles of sodium salt of phenol, which is called sodium phenoxide. Along with that, hydrogen gas is formed. So the salt of phenol with sodium is called sodium phenoxide. Sometimes we also call it as sodium phenate. In addition to this reaction, phenol can also react with a base like sodium hydroxide. So how do we write the equation for the reaction? It is phenol will react with aqueous sodium hydroxide. This results in the formation of salt of phenol, sodium phenoxide again. Along with that, it has to be water. So these 2 reactions clearly prove the acidic nature of phenol. One important observation that you can make is alcohol reacts with active metal like sodium, but it does not react with a base like NaOH. On the other hand, phenol can react with active metal like sodium, and it can also react with sodium hydroxide solution. So this point clearly indicates that phenols are stronger acids than alcohol, the reason for which we are going to study shortly. Let us discuss about acidity of alcohols. The general formula of alcohol I have written ROH. You know that oxygen is more electronegative than hydrogen. That's why oxygen pulls the shared electron pair of oxygen-hydrogen bond towards itself, releasing hydrogen easily in the form of H plus ion. Or in other words, the basic reason for acidic nature of alcohol is the polarity of OH bond. Greater the polarity of OH bond, stronger is the acidic nature. Now, knowing this, we can arrange alcohols in the order of increasing acidic nature. First, I will consider methanol. So, when I say methanol CH3OH, you know that there is one methyl group. This methyl group will exert plus I effect. So because of plus I effect, electron density is given towards oxygen atom. As a result, what happens to the electron hunger of oxygen? It is reduced. Or in other words, the polarity of OH bond is reduced. Now, if I compare methanol with water, it is a HOH. You know that this hydrogen atom is neither plus I nor minus I. That is why the polarity of OH bond in case of water is greater than that in methanol. It's for this reason, methanol is a weaker acid compared to water. In short, anything that reduces polarity of OH bond tends to make it less and less acidic. So, the first point is methanol is a weaker acid compared to water. Now, I'll move over to a primary alcohol. When I say primary alcohol, you have RCH2OH. In this case, RCH2 group has stronger plus I effect. As a result, what should happen to polarity? Polarity of OH bond should decrease, or in other words, that the acidic nature of primary alcohol should be less than that of methanol. I'll move over to secondary alcohol. When I say secondary alcohol, I have two R groups over there. So this R group releases the electron density, this R dash also. So both R and R dash groups exert plus I effect. So this is more significant compared to the previous case. So what happens to the polarity of OH bond? It is further reduced. That is why primary alcohol is always a stronger acid compared to secondary alcohol. Now, extending the same concept, if I go for tertiary alcohol, there are three R groups exerting plus I effect. So polarity of OH bond must further decrease. So in short, what I can say is methyl alcohol is a stronger acid compared to a primary alcohol. Primary alcohol is a stronger acid compared to secondary, and in turn secondary is stronger compared to tertiary. Just now we have studied the order of acidic strength of alcohols. Methyl alcohol is greater than primary, greater than secondary, greater than tertiary. I'll consider their conjugate bases. When I say conjugate bases, I have to remove H plus from those species. So when I remove H plus, in the first case I get CH3O minus. In the second case, it is a RCH2O minus. Here, RCHR dash O minus, and finally here it should be RCR and R O minus. Now, if this is the strongest acid among the alcohol, the conjugate base must be the weakest. So, if I consider the order of basic strength, I can say that methoxide ion must be the weakest base, and as I move towards alkoxide ion of primary, secondary and tertiary, what should happen to basic strength? Basic strength should keep on increasing. That is why tertiary alkoxide ion is the strongest base among the alkoxide ion. And this concept we use very frequently in various organic reactions.